Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Live Monday, Ancestry Lands live with Uncle Phil. Y'all know who it is. Happy Monday, everybody. Hey, did y'all miss me when I was on the road walking? I'm doing all of this other stuff. I'm branching out. I'm doing different things. I'm trying to show you different stuff, that I don't know, that might be of interesting. Today, folks, we got a great show. I brought on a special guest of mine. I'm gonna hold the excitement because I'm so excited. Let me hear from my ladies. Okay, hold on. So I've got a young man that I've met on my travels. Everybody knows that I travel out to California and I do my nursing there. And it always amazes me and excites me to see other brothers, other nurses, people in the world that are doing business too as well. Today's topic and program is designed to speak on the subject of, does corporate America or the corporate job market keep us down? Keep us held back? Does it allow us to not achieve more because we're confined in a box? If you get a job, you start off getting a job, you start off making a certain amount of money. Obviously, you're broke or you're in college, you're not making enough money, or you're on OnlyFans and you might be selling a little something, or you might be a young guy that's out there, you go to the clubs, you know, and you got a little something that you got a little extra change that you've been spending on a woman of the night, whatever it may be. But folks, I wanted to bring in a guest to talk about this because I love what he's doing. I love what he's his mindset. I want people to hear where he's coming from. But let me bring in my host, right? My special guest, Mr. Errol Moore. How are you,
Hey
sir?
man,
How are you doing?
not bad, not bad. How are you doing, bro?
I'm well. I'm well. Let me give you a proper applause. There we go, folks.
Thank you, thank you.
No problem. So let me ask. Okay, folks. All right, enough, folks. Enough. So just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you hail, a little bit of your, what brought you up to the point where we met.
So I am a registered nurse, as my host said earlier. Um, I have pretty much background from in terms of like birth and whatnot from Guyana, South America.
Mm.
Mom and dad, pretty much. Yep. Yep, outside.
uh, I don't know what the
Uh,
Guyana, how you say like, more fire, sock say, whatever that is, but whatever it is a Guyanese. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So that's in the blood and whatnot. So I
Hmm.
come from a family pretty much of doers, pretty much hustlers. Like we grind, we just grind. That's how it is.
Mm.
And anybody that's from Guyana knows how it is down there. If you don't grind, you don't eat. So
Mm.
so that was ingrained in me from a young age, from both my mom and my dad's side of things. And then
Right.
went to school down there, finished up high school, and came over here for college. And
Okay.
then everything went to nursing after that, you know.
So why nursing? Why nursing? What made you?
So my choice for nursing was basically because of my grandma. My grandma was a nurse. She was actually the head of the nursing department down in Guyana,
Mm.
at GPHC, which is the Georgetown Public Hospital, pretty much.
Mm.
As a kid, I used to come off from school. I used to go at her office and play around with stethoscopes,
Yep.
meet nursing students and whatnot. And
Mm.
so that was kind of like what I was around as a kid. And then,
Right.
when I came back to the States to go to college and whatnot, she actually passed. She was doing nursing in the United Kingdom. So
Wow.
that, it was initially to just honor her memory, just to
Yeah.
go in there and just kind of do great things, help people, and just kind of carry on a legacy pretty much.
Got it. So when nursing, I guess for a lot of people, I mean, it's no secret, but depending on where you go, nursing can be a big financial win for someone who's coming straight out of college, making very little money or a limited amount. And now you're open to a big world, financially in the form of, good nursing income and the ability to work overtime. Where did you divert off to say, hey, not only doing nursing, but I need to supplement my life in some way to give me some financial freedom so I'm not tied to the nursing 9 to 5, if you will, or 12 to 12.
Well, that decision was based in part on my personality. Like, I don't really like working for people. I never
Mhm.
entertained the thought or had down in my, from a young age, like, okay, I'm just gonna work for somebody all my life and kind of like just do the 9 to 5 stuff, have a family, have a,
Mhm.
a home, a car, take a couple of trips, whatever it is a year. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, that's just mediocre. I mean,
Mm,
respect or props to whoever, that suits their lifestyle or whatever it is, but
yeah.
I would not be satisfied doing just
Right.
that. So for me, it was more
Shots
of kind
fired.
of like,
Go ahead, please
hey,
continue.
that's what it is.
I also am a family man. Mediocre shots fired. Having one of host keys, just shooting away, folks. Go
You
ahead. Go
asked,
ahead.
right?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But yeah, I wanted to first I wanted to create a space whereby I can, be my own boss,
Hmm.
be, I'll have a lot of talents. I like to manage money. My dad was into doing that as
Got
a
it.
kid as well. You know what I'm saying? He was into exchanging currencies and all that stuff. And
Mm,
I knew that game from a kid. So I knew
right.
that, $1 equals this much dollar local currency and whatnot. And I thought about that as a kid that, hey, this is a way to kind of do this and kind of leverage currency powers and whatnot to kind of
Absolutely.
get a win in terms of the conversions and whatnot. So
Mhm.
that kind of triggered when I saw that, okay, you can work as a nurse for 20, 30 years, you retire and you get a piece of paper.
Right.
You get a gas card. And
Right.
I saw this,
Yeah.
and it was shocking to me that, this is you put in 20 to 30 years of your life in this place. Yes, they're paying you a paycheck, but are you really fulfilled though? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Did you really live your life and not
Hmm.
live a life that was designed for you by somebody else? You know what I'm saying? That's why
Right.
I kind of decided that, hey, I'm going to basically leverage my income, go into, business. I got one house, which was a rental, and I started
Hmm.
from there pretty much.
Okay,
You know.
good. So you got into the rental market. I wanted to ask too as well. When you walked in there to be able to look so far down, you know, to the end of nursing when you come in, a lot of people, at least from my experience, nursing students, they're very blinded by I'm going to get a job and I'm going to be making a lot of money. I mean, on average nurses make more than most, starting jobs starting out. So how did you get past that? I'm going to use Jay-Z's term, the allure of the new job and the money you make up front to, hey man, I know it's good right now, but down the road, that doesn't lead me to where I want to be. I can't be independent. I can't be free. Just go ahead and doing this, even if they're paying me hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
So that was kind of it was a process. So
Mhm.
my first nursing paycheck was roughly about three times what I would make, probably a week. Because I
Mm,
was working for minimum wage, I think, at a time at
right.
a gas station. That's when I moved to upstate New York, pretty much.
Copy.
And I mean, it wasn't a whole lot of money, but I would do a lot of overtime, and
Yeah.
I would make a decent amount, which I thought decent was like $700, $800.
Yeah,
And then I
right.
was like, wait a minute, and that was 2 weeks. I think every 2 weeks I was making probably like $700 or maybe less than that. Maybe I'm
Right.
capping.
Right.
So, but when you think about it, you're like, wait a minute, this is $800 in 2 weeks. By the time I make two spins with this is pretty much finished.
Right.
What can I do to basically make this kind of multiply?
Right.
So I had probably a $2,000 paycheck maybe for my first nursing salary, and this was like a lot of money at that time, and I was like,
Yeah.
whoa,
Yeah. Of course.
and that was life changing, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like a couple months down the line, you're like, wait a minute, I got an apartment.
Right.
Rent is $1,000 or $1,200.
Hmm.
Car note now because you want to drive a car and get the
Right.
from work. You want to take big
Right.
little road trips or whatever it is.
Hmm.
Car note is $400. And
Right.
you realize that $2,000 every 2 weeks is
Right.
basically nothing.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
you have to do something else because, you're pretty much, then you haven't even this counting in utilities,
Right.
gas, car insurance,
Hmm.
food,
Right.
you know, and then if you bring a
Absolutely.
family into the picture, you know what goes, man. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I didn't have a family for about 10 years after becoming a nurse, maybe 11.
Yeah.
So I know what it's like, and again, I don't think you should ever be it's three times more than what you were making. On average, people are going to get at least a 2x from what they were making minimum wage to whatever job they go into that's the beginning of a career. And that
Mhm.
that money, your mind just shifts to like, wow, I'm making this so much every 2 weeks. And it's just a financial upgrade, but it doesn't, what I feel happens all the time is that you start filling in your life at that level, and you're like, oh, I need a better car. The girls can't see me in the hoopty, in the hatchback with the rest bucket. I gotta get that credit
Mm,
out there because I got the new job. Here comes the better clothes. Here comes the better apartment. Got a
yep.
girlfriend. You don't even got to get married before you start filling your life up with stuff. What I like is that you manage to kind of look at the numbers. And I think, I don't want to say that's what younger people aren't doing. Even at my age, I really wasn't looking at the numbers until I got into debt and I got myself out of debt. And I said, man, now I have perfect credit. And it wasn't until I got a little bit older, but you're way younger than I was when I got to that actuality. You're right where I wanted to be at that time, where it was like, man, I was just starting to kind of get the ball rolling. So, what would you say is a good advice for someone starting out at 22, nursing or whatever else? Because I mean, I don't think financial, literacy is going to be. I don't think it's degree dependent. I think it's everyone has a degree of illiteracy when it comes to finances. How do you how do you look at that end of the road? What would you tell people as far as like how to kind of do what you did to kind of get a grasp on, seeing that like, hey man, this is great now, but 5 years down the line, you still gonna be making the same amount of money. Is it gonna be enough then? Like what would you tell them what could they do? What are three helpful steps that a 22, 23, 24-year-old could say, man, if I'm listening to Arrow, man, I should probably do this along the way to make sure I know what's coming?
Man, it all boils down to pretty much one thing, and it
Hmm.
spreads from there. It's discipline.
Mm.
That's all it is. Discipline.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you as you want certain things in life. You want to have, like, for instance, financial independence and whatnot,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
And that's your goal, right?
Right.
You have to be whatever goal it is that you're setting for yourself, whether it's to be just be a family man, to be,
Hmm.
a businessman, whatever it is. That's
Right.
your goal. You have to basically be disciplined enough to avoid anything that deviates you or puts you two steps back from achieving that goal. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? You can't be like, oh, I want to buy a house, but I'm going to drop 10,000 at the strip club.
Right. Right.
It's
I
not
have
gonna
a
work.
I have something for that. Sorry. I just for all the people out there tipping, in the South, I just want to make sure we
Yeah.
got you covered. Okay.
Copy,
Go ahead.
copy.
Maybe not 10K,
Yeah.
but take 100, break it up in ones. Go, please continue. Please continue.
Yeah, yeah. You can't be doing that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just got a new job, they're paying you more. Instead
Right.
of going out and getting that new Mozzie or that new Benz, the new
Right.
Bentley, the new Beamer, whatever it is, right? You
Yeah.
can get that eventually, but
Right.
take a step back, right?
I like that.
Take a
Yep.
step back. Realize that, hey, you just managed to 2x or 3x your finances every week from whatever
Mm.
you started from. It's not a chance for you to celebrate,
Right.
right? Don't celebrate and go buy liabilities.
Right.
Think about how you're going to buy an asset that generates money for you, so
Gotcha.
that you don't have to work as hard pulling a bunch of overtime to pay for all the other extra stuff you want to buy when you get to that next level. You know what I'm saying? Or better
Absolutely.
yet, get an asset to generate income for you so that asset can pay for all your toys.
Yes. I got
You
it.
know what I'm saying?
Let me ask you this question. That's gonna be hard for a 20. Yeah, okay. So how old are you now? If you mind give the audience your
I'm
age.
32.
32. So are you saying at 22, you can go back and tell 22 with a fresh degree out, fresh paycheck, and you got the check like, I'm going to cash this right now? Because I'd said I don't want direct deposit for my first nursing check. I wanted to cash it. I looked at the
Mm.
girl and I was like, cash this mother. I thought I was rolling in the money. I walked in with a strut like, hey, hey, you know. Could you tell your 22-year-old self that information and you follow it? You know what I mean? Because I would imagine it's hard for a 22-year-old to grasp what the 32-year-old self is saying. I'm 42, so
Mm.
would you be able to get yourself at 22 and say, hey man, like what? There's a lot of people that's going to go right past over the head. What could you do
Yeah.
to capture that group to the people like maybe not like you that would have listened to that information?
Um, that's gonna be like you gotta figure out who you're dealing
Yeah,
with first,
gotcha. Okay,
because everybody has different personalities, right?
right,
What I'm saying, if you're business minded, you'll catch what I'm saying, right?
got
But
it.
if you're not, I gotta figure out where you're at. And
Okay,
then I have to, like, work with you on a personal level, like, okay, maybe not do a strip club every weekend, maybe do it
Right.
every other week or
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
month. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Reduce that so you can save up a pot,
Yeah.
right? To put into something that you know will make you some money. Whether
Gotcha.
something it can be a hobby, it can be, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, something that like you said, a house.
Yeah.
It could be a car that you put on, what's that app?
Toro.
Uh exactly, Toro
Mhm.
or something like that. It can be something that simple. Even
Yeah.
if you so for instance, you want to go buy that BMW,
Hmm.
put it on Toro.
Got it.
Toro will pay the what you call it, the note every month, and you still
Hmm.
get to drive around in the BMW. There's
Right.
different ways to do it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But the frame of mind you gotta be in is that let somebody else pay for this shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Don't be the one that's spending your hard-earned income to pay for a liability that's gonna depreciate over years.
Right.
That's what you gotta think.
Yeah, no, definitely. I know that you spoke on this when we talked. I don't want to say when we talked in California because anybody listening to us like I know they ain't talking about getting wealthy on my dime. Um, the importance of mentorship. I always say at this age when you get that kind of money starting out in a career, I to me the most critical thing is having someone that is your OG or someone that you can look to give you guidance. One of the things my father, he's 62 or 60, no 64. I always tell him is that sometimes his advice is too restrictive for a young person. Like young people, they want to look fly. They're interested in girls or boys or whatever sex they're interested in now.
Mm,
That you're not going to get them to kind of go along with the plan if it's too restrictive. If a person doesn't have that level of discipline, some people can just, I'm going to eat peanut butter jelly sandwiches, ramen noodles, and that's fine. But once they get in 2-3 grand, they're not going to, the human condition is like, I'm going to give myself a better because I deserve it. So
mm,
I told him, I say, sometimes you got to make a budget for Jordans. You know what I mean? If the dude likes Jordans, like you said, hey, maybe not spend so much at the club that night, maybe budget out two, three, four, 500. But that's what a mentor is for. Even in business, I've had mentors along the way guiding you. And is that something you feel can be helpful when a young man, and that could be a father figure or an actual business mentor. But do you think that's something that is helpful for a person to get someone who can guide them financially that has results, you
mhm.
know, that can be a tool to help a person who's young trying to make that kind of money?
Yeah, most definitely. Um, I didn't meet a mentor until like way later in my adulthood, like about, I would say it's recent too, within the last maybe 6 years.
Okay.
But to get mentors help you get to the next level, point blank. No matter
Okay.
where you're at, even if you're a millionaire, millionaires have mentors too
Wow.
because they're trying to become a multimillionaire or even a billionaire. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
doesn't matter which level you're at, you can find somebody that's done it better than you. And that's the beauty of mentorship. You know what I'm
right.
saying? And for somebody that's now starting out, like a young person, whatever it is, I mean, it can be very difficult
Mhm.
because you have your desires and whatnot, like you spoke on before. And you
Right,
also have to be selective as to who you're going to listen to because not everybody that's trying to help you is going to actually be a friend or be a mentor to you. They
right.
might just be looking at you, seeing how they can fleece a dollar from you. You know what I'm saying? So you got to
Yeah.
be really selective. You got to be able to like know who you're dealing with on the
Mhm.
levels. And like you said, the receipts have to match. You
Right,
know, if they can show you that they did XYZ plays and did, this is the result, you
right.
probably want to, might not everything they talk about you want to listen to, but you want to pay attention to what they're saying. You know what I'm saying? Because it's
Yeah,
gonna help you out.
definitely. Do you, I always tell people be cautious to people with just their wealth is visible, you know.
Mm,
A lot of people that I know that are doing it can show receipts. They're never wearing, or the receipts are not always visual.
mm,
That's a person just because they have a, I don't know, a Lamborghini doesn't mean that they're financially making the moves. A lot of things can be just bought off of credit. What are some of the things that and before I do that, let me stop for a second, folks. I want to tell everybody today's show is sponsored by our sponsors, everyhomelife.com. Everyhomelife.com, you can go and buy everything for your housing needs. They have great products, from small budgets to large budgets, and some luxury items too as well. Everyhomelife.com. There are sponsors. Go to them and buy some things. the projection lamp behind me is something that I bought from them. I plan on buying more. So when you say, wow, he's got a great studio, remember everyhomelife.com is the place that I started at and I get my stuff from. But let's continue. The what are the things that you look for in a mentor? Like 2 or 3 things that you say, this is a person I need to have another conversation with. So our listeners and young people can say, these, I have kind of a working frame of mind of how to choose a good mentor.
It That's the other thing too. Mentors come in different shapes and sizes, right?
Mhm.
Like you said, people get caught up with this flashy lifestyle type foolishness.
Right.
Not every time somebody with a Lamborghini says, "Hey, turn left," you're gonna turn left.
Right.
Because you don't know, as you said before, you don't know how they got the Lamborghini. If it's on loan, if it's a friend, if it's a, whatever the case is, if they stole it, whatever the case is, right?
Right.
My personal mentor, I can speak off of this, wears no jewelry except for like an earring,
Right.
maybe once in a while.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
not an earring with diamonds in it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? He drives one of the most basic cars you can think about,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't even get caught dead in that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't drive flashy stuff. I have a Jetta, you know what I'm saying,
Right.
for crying out loud. But
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Very humble, very stoic.
Right.
However, when he opens his mouth to speak, you're getting some knowledge. You
Right.
know that he's gonna drop some dimes on you. And
Right.
I listen. I pay attention because that's kind of what I gravitate to as a person because I don't say a whole lot unless I know you or
Right.
unless I mess with you on that type of level. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I've had people that I work with for 2, 3 years and they don't know anything about me. And that's how I like it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what I gravitated to. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
if you're a more outgoing person, you might find somebody along those lines who is also outgoing. However, they have
Right.
in their silent moments things that they do to help maneuver through the corporate world and get to certain levels. And if that person's it's a fit, then you do that. You don't
Right.
ever go running behind somebody, oh, be my mentor, be my mentor. No, it just has to fit. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And as you move through the levels, you'll find somebody else. And that's kind of how the universe is. You know what I'm saying? You just
Right.
love attraction.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this: would you agree with the statement that the corporate environment is designed to hold us back? When I say that, is that it's so limiting because I do feel that in order to be more financially to create the financial velocity to get more money, you always have to go back and trade dollars for hours. You got to give up your time. You got to work doubles. You got to work longer to get more money, but it doesn't exactly give you life style. It just gives you finances. So, do you see the corporate environment is just kind of it graduates from college to, hey, come for work for us. And what's going to happen is you're going to have this, we're going to throw money at you. You're going to want more of the money. And it's never really going to cement you into propelling forward to some freedom, to something that can improve your life. It just seems like people are stuck on the money and they don't look happy as a result for it over time. It seems like they're kind of more in the matrix, if you will. What are your thoughts on that?
So if you're trading hours of your life, because I'm just say hours, let's say how it is, right? Hours of your life, right?
Yeah, I'm the host. You can say whatever. You can go ahead and say it. I'm just trying to make sure you know,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
If you're
trying to
trading,
stay monetized here. So you go ahead and say it. I can bleep you out. Go ahead.
yeah, if you're trading hours of your life for money, you're gonna end up losing in the
Right.
long run. No matter
Got it.
what you do, you're gonna end
Right.
up losing. Initially, to get a lump sum or to get some money, say you can leverage into something else,
Right.
sure, because you have to start from somewhere. But if you're doing
Right.
that on a continual basis, what are you doing that you actually like when you want to do it, how you
Right.
want to do it? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That's how I look at things. If you are an individual that likes, okay, for instance, you want to go to India.
Hmm.
You don't know why, but it's calling you,
Right.
right? You're working all these overtime shifts, and then your boss tells you when you already booked your ticket and whatnot, you can't go. What are you
Mm.
gonna do?
Right.
Because that's happened to me before.
Right. Yep.
That's happened to
Yep.
me when I was already in the country that I was supposed to go to.
Right.
Right. And I told them, no, I'm not coming, I'm not coming back. And I was already
Right.
looking for other places to work. Like
Wow.
at some point, enough is enough. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Plus, earn income, how things are set up right now. you're gonna pay the most taxes on it.
Right.
If you didn't know, earned income is the most taxed,
Right.
or one of the most taxed things you can possibly do, because it's all tier based, right? Yes, you can divert some of that into, like,
Mhm.
for instance, the 401k or whatever it is
Right.
there, to kind of like offset some of the government taxes that they're going to levy on you. But that's kind of like the, not the way to go about doing it. Say, for instance, you take the same amount of money you would make, like, say you make $20,000, right?
Right.
You throw that into the stock market in a proper investment. You got to do research and all this stuff,
Of course.
and you cash out after a year. That's a long-term investment, and that gives you only a 20% tax liability.
Right. Right. Right.
That seems like a better idea over going for, like, our earned income that's tier based, and the more money you make, the more money the government takes, and it can go up crazy amounts, especially in New York and California. So I mean, you gotta, like, plus it's not fulfilling. You know what I'm saying? Unless you love what you do. That's a different thing.
Right.
If you
Right.
do love what you do, then it doesn't matter, right?
Mm.
Because you went into something that's what your soul feels like. Hey, this is what should be doing.
Right.
This brings me joy. This brings me peace. But a lot of people are not in jobs because of that reason. They're in jobs just to make money, to pay the rent or pay the car note, or just to basically survive. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's go ahead.
No, I know. I get what you're saying. I think that's a valid point. My thing is that I noticed that, after being a nurse for 20 years, is that, people literally go to work. It's like once you get in long enough, everything becomes repetitive. You go to work, people are complaining, they don't like this. New people go up into management, and I'm like, where do you advance? And I'm just going to use nursing because we're both nurses. There isn't a lot of advancement because the most money that you can make is working the overtime. So it's kind of like it's a Faustian deal or a devil's bargain because you're always trying to fill up everything that you're going to spend on, but it doesn't give you the freedom. And like you said, you're in there, you're going trying to go on vacation, but it's got to get approved by HR. Your life now becomes a series of approvals, not just
Mm-hmm.
from your main boss, your manager, but we've
Mm-hmm.
got to do continuing education. We've got to do skills training. We've got to do this. We got to do that. And it's like your life, you don't actually have any control in your life. You take days off when they tell you to take days off. Again, you can't even leverage any tax. You can't defer any taxes other than a 401k. There's literally nothing else left for you in life to accomplish because it stops once you got that first job. You can always go up, but the job's going to stay the same. It's going to be patient care. You can go to surgery, you can go whatever else, but it's every job is designed at not allowing you to grow to what is your potential, your individual potential. You're working to enrich the corporation, and the corporation only thing is doing is giving you enough to they're using your hours of your life to enrich themselves. And now we see that in today's world with the job losses, them, cutting out executives or even, furloughing people to make sure that they save corporate profits. So when we go through this, like in 2008 and now, people are not stuck with any kind of freedom. Now they're in an unemployed, and it's like, okay, how do you get freedom in that area? And now you said that you're going into, you have rentals. How do you see that as a way for you to say, hey man, I'm on a path to do something different? Because we're both in real estate, I'm in land and you're in rentals, and I'm like, hey man, he's where I want to go to. I just took a detour, but we're in the same realm of, like, we see that there's something wrong, that even doctors become financially strapped. They're not all doing well, even though they make $500,000 or quarter millions of dollars. Like, you have to do something else. And like you said, all they're doing is making more money to be taxed more. It's you have to, like we said, I've told this before in other podcasts. Business expenses are 100% write offable. You can write them off as deductions under your business. You can't do that when I buy my kids clothes that's already been taxed, that I'm now paying at the store taxed on, and it's a there's nothing I can write off. Well, if they're in my business, like I've hired my daughter in the business to do accounts receivable, if I'm buying her something within the business realm for her to operate in the business, it is 100% write off. I can write it off to reclaim some money back. But when you're working in a corporate job, they can pay you more, but the government's saying, hey man, let me get my cut, you know, And after that, you're gonna have what I give you. And most people don't even know whether they're being taxed well enough. And then we get a return at the end of the year. And I'm like, man, you just got money back on money that you lent for someone else to make money. So the corporation's making money, government's making money, and then you're stuck with the state's making money, the stores passing on, stuff to you. Again, you got to have something else going on. And I like that when you and I talk that you have rentals, because again, you're building. If you don't work tomorrow, that's what no one talks about. If you lose, God forbid, if another nurse, not you, I don't want to put you out there. I'm hoping, I want you to stay alive. I need you. You stay with me. But if another person were to lose their knees and they can't go into the hospital, because again, if you can't have legs, you can't work in the hospital. You can take care of patients on nubs. So you can't work anymore. Your income, salary, degree, all of that's gone. You can't, there's nothing else you can do. You're a great nurse. Only you do is take a wheelchair job as a nurse and teach other people how to be a nurse. Maybe, but you can't live off the same level financially that you do. So that goes down already. Same thing as losing a job. But you said, hey, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to use this to, and I don't want to give that away, but you know where I'm leading at. You're using the main thing to get out of the plantation to build your own nation. Because I feel that corporate jobs are plantations. I don't want to say that in a racial way, but they're pastures for all of us to graze on. But we don't see that at the end of it, we get slaughtered in the form of, we got an employee ID number. If you don't show up to work 2 minutes late, you get a warning. Then you got the managers, they're making sure. And then when we get messed up assignments or the work isn't right or it's not fair, they just tell you to deal with it because they've got management telling them, hey, keep the profits. It's no wonder nursing always has a nursing shortage, or we're always short staffed, but we got to keep the hospital going. But some hospitals are making Exxon Mobil money. But again, nurses are barely paid wages that count for inflation, but nurses in their mindset are like, I've got a 5% raise. Great. I'm like, whoa, good. If inflation's at really 12%, you ain't making anything. And there's that again, because there's nothing to say, hey, advance. There's not even like really classes to teach you anything financially with the money, that you're making. So I just wanted to say that to you is that everybody's going to get a job. We're not telling everybody, hey, don't go to college, don't get a career, don't do this, but you got to do something else. And how did you start your journey into doing rentals? And what mistakes maybe did you make that our listeners can say, hey, that's something I can learn from it into the rental industry? Because that's something I'm interested too. So I want to learn from your experience and what you've learned. And am I right in saying that? Because I don't want people to be offended. I don't want doctors to be like, well, if he calls me for a medication for a patient, I don't know if I'm going to answer. But the same thing, the doctors have to work all the time. And I've got 3 kids, man. Kids are expensive, man. I told my wife today, we be rich. We be flying, sailing, everything. My wife could get liposuction, mommy tuck, whatever else she wants. I could have hair and we didn't have kids, but they cost a lot of money and they don't bring you a return unless one of them one day becomes Steph Curry and I can eat off of him. You know what I mean? I could just literally say, I raised you, boy. You owe me for all that I've done for you. Now buy me this house and make sure I got 3 rentals that Arrow has. But go ahead. I don't want to take the floor. But you could just use your children like every other parent that has a millionaire for a son or a daughter and use them to fulfill your life with the money that you didn't accomplish. Maybe that's the plan, but that's not a guarantee. But again, that's something that I like what you're doing. So I want to, when we met, you told me that what you're doing now is to fund your real estate endeavors instead of just going and saying, hey, I don't know if you did it, but so I'm going to go out and take massive loans. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to go into massive amounts of debt. I'm going to get a rental, I call it the, let me make sure I have mine because, there's some Christian people watching me, the make happen, ideology, the God's going to give it to me. He's just going to, it's like you're God's, it's like you just tell God what to do. And he's like, okay, I'm just going to deliver this because, you prayed, but you said, call the person a mother right after that. You know what I mean? So go ahead. I just want to hear from your thoughts.
Well, you know how it is.
Yeah.
Nah, you're good. You know how it is, man. Like,
yeah.
Okay, going back to let's just touch on the Christian thing right now, real quick. Right. They say faith without works is dead, right?
Woo!
Point blank.
Bars.
So if you
Sorry,
You know what I'm
I just
saying?
got to get the bars on that one.
You can pray how much you want to pray. Nothing's gonna change unless you make it change.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And you can pray for the inspiration, put in the
Mm.
work, make a plan, and he
Mm-hmm.
gonna bless you.
All right, hold on. We have a comment here. Kevin, the software tester. Kevin, thank you for showing up. He said there's also a lack of appreciation for your work. I'm going through that now. Any comments on that for Kevin, the software tester?
Oh, he's a software engineer, tester. What is that?
Kevin, let us know if you're in the comments. I don't know. He might have tapped in and tapped back out. But there's a lack of appreciation. But I think where Errol's going next Kevin will talk to you about that, and we'll address it again. Please comment, Kevin, and let us know what you do for work, so we can elaborate on that. But let Errol have the floor, and if he comments again, he's a tester, software tester.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you said that the tech world is blooming right now. Chat
Hmm.
GPT and all that. I
Yeah.
mean, of course, you guys are pretty much the crash dummies of the world right now for the tech
Mm,
industry. If you guys are
respectfully.
going to do what you're doing, you know what I'm saying, we won't be able to get something that works fluidly,
Right.
because most customers or users of software don't realize that there's an extensive amount of development and testing and all the stuff that goes on in the background
Right.
before a product even comes to market. You know what I'm saying? And then even when
Mhm.
it comes to market, you guys are still there refining it to get the updates needed for like patches or whatever it is that may come up. So, I mean, props to you, man.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Kevin, thank you for that. Also, Kevin, the lack of appreciation for your work. Again, the people who hire you or own the departments, you're a number and a name on a line on a spreadsheet. They don't. There's no story. They put the managers in there to give you a connection to the workplace to bond you in there. And that's what, Errol's talking about is that, even for you, Kevin, there's some skill that you have in software where you can maybe teach it. You can do some type of education that you can market your skills out there, use your regular job to fund your passion, your future, your real future. And understand that the lack of appreciation is what you need to remember when you're building a business and you have employees. That's what I would definitely tell you as a business owner and having employees is that when you build your own, you don't be scared to go your own way and build it, but you got to do it how Errol's doing it, how I've done it, where you're using your main job to focus to fund. I'm sorry, to fund what it is that you're going to be using it. Oh, he said you guys are right. Salute to you both. And Errol, let's get a little bit into that because I don't want to lose the audience and we did this for 8 hours. I won't tell where we've done it at, but we talked about this, and it was great talking to another young man, another man of color, who is when you get together and you talk, man, it is a magical thing. We had a great conversation, even with Adler,
Hmm.
just talking about different real estate, ventures and areas we're in. And real estate doesn't have to be your thing, Kevin. You can definitely teach a lot of it. I would definitely say try to find something on like Teachable and start creating videos or even a YouTube channel. Let us know, send a link. We'll subscribe. You can advertise on Ancestry Lands and we'll promote your channel and stuff like that, man, where you can give helpful tips on how to do apps or app developers. There's so many things you can do in teaching it. You don't have to go in and work the 9 to 5 and say that's it for me, but you do have to work it to say here's where I want to be. You have to work the 9 to 5 to get to where you want to be, unless you're going to start a business or you have all this venture capital to start with. But that's mostly not our world. Would you not?
Yeah.
Would you agree with that, Errol?
Yeah. True. True. True.
So going
Um,
back to you with the how you're funding and getting into the rentals, what caused you to kind of move in that direction?
so, first off, you got to realize that whenever you're in a school, from like elementary all the way up to like what you call it there, high school and
College,
even
yeah,
college,
yeah.
what I'm saying, university, whatever it is there, you are being trained to replace the next guy.
Mm. Excuse me.
That's all they're doing.
Yes.
That's all they're doing. You're literally being trained to replace the next guy,
Mm.
right? If you notice where they put finances into the curriculum, it's in college.
Right.
Because I don't think there's a finance class or financial literacy class in the majority of schools up until that level.
Right.
Personally, me, I didn't learn about all this finance stuff until like maybe what? while I was in college actually, and I
Right.
wasn't even in a finance course. I never took a course on finance. I did do statistics,
Hmm.
which kind of got the gears turning a little bit as well,
Right.
because it helps you to sort out probabilities and all that stuff when I was dealing with business models and different
Right.
types of business related case studies and whatnot, right?
Right. Right.
So for me, I took, and this is this is crazy. I took a lot of the funds I generated in college, right?
Hmm.
And I bought my first property the day before I graduated college,
Holy salute on that.
right?
Woo!
So, like I had a lot of like grants,
Yeah.
scholarships. I didn't go and spend all that stuff on a bunch of foolishness. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? They gave me the money to put towards a tuition or whatever it is. I paid tuition. Whatever was left over was to fund books and whatever. I bought the cheapest possible books. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? I was staying on my aunt at the time. I was paying her rent and whatever it else is. And
Right.
I saw how they were living because their family they have a ton of rentals,
Okay.
right? And I was like, that's interesting.
Right.
I want to do that because that is a way to get income. And I wasn't exposed to that until I got around that family.
Okay.
So I was like, and it's cheap around here because where I'm at in upstate New York, a house was back then, like probably 5 years ago,
Right.
$100,000 for a
Right.
decent sized house, a duplex even.
Got it.
So once I did that move there, just out of college, I kind of lived for free in
Mm.
one part of the duplex and rented out
Right.
the other part of the duplex to pay the mortgage.
Oh wow. Okay, there's game being dropped here. So, I hope everybody's taking notes. All you people listening to this on a replay, because we know y'all like to check in on a replay. You might want to stop it here at 42:30 and realize games being dropped there. Okay. So you're
Yeah,
living in one, you're getting a duplex, and you're living in one, and you're renting out the other one and having the mortgage presumably paid
but
by the
correct,
renter. Okay.
exactly. So there's more efficient ways to do this as well. If you find a quadruplex, right, you can actually live in one and rent out three.
Right. So for the
So
people
you
who
can
don't understand
actually
Latin, what's a quadruplex? Just because
four
everybody don't.
units,
Okay, got it.
one
And
room.
everybody don't know Latin like we do. Just go ahead. It's like
Yeah, four
quadruplex.
units,
It's
one
like, is that
room.
a bike? This is a new. That's a new ninja or something. What they got? What the brother talking about? He's speaking.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Our southern people
Yeah.
like he's speaking white out there. That's.
Uh,
Go ahead. Go ahead. The quad is meaning four. It's Latin for four. But go ahead. Please continue.
yeah.
Quadruplex.
So you can rent one, you can live in one rather, rent out the other three.
Right.
And if you tear the rental income correctly, you can have one apartment pay the entire mortgage, and then you have two to pocket.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? You have expenses that come out of that, and you can also save towards getting another one.
Okay.
And you
Got it.
can continue rolling like that. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Because you have to stay in the apartment or whatever it is for about a year, I think.
Right.
Usually they like to see that. And then you
Okay.
can move out of there and you can also do the entire thing. So you can rent the entire 4 units
Got it. So hold on.
after
Let
a
me
year.
for our listeners. That is getting a personal, what like a primary mortgage as opposed to a business mortgage or like a property. What do they call it? It's a different type of mortgage where it's like it's not just a second residence or like a rental mortgage, which is usually a little bit more expensive. So just people
Yes.
understand that the game is living in it first, what he
Yep.
did, and then you move out after the point and put the renter in afterwards, so you're not paying the more expensive mortgage. Because if you're making a profit, hey, even the bank wants to make a profit. But please continue.
Exactly. And you can do it that way as well. But obviously you're gonna have a larger, probably a larger down payment because you have to do like 20%, I think, of
Mhm.
that.
Right,
Instead of maybe like 10 or whatever it is that Sally Mae wants these days.
right.
Um, So that is what I did, and I moved into another house after about 2 years, and then I
Got it.
rented out the entire duplex. And then
Wow.
both sides of that is kind of like paying for itself completely, and then it's paying half of my other mortgage pretty much.
Okay,
So
got
I'm
it.
wondering, go
No,
ahead.
no, go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish that point because I always got a question. Because when you're saying this, everybody's gonna be like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Okay," but make sure you and Errol's gonna let us know because you're getting money now, so you're doing the same thing you did when you got out of college, got this nursing degree. What
Yeah.
are the things like? I'm gonna say it, but you can elaborate on it. Like That money's not just going to be put in the bank and you're going to be like, hey, I'm going to go out there and buy baby girl some, Vera Wangs right now.
No.
And I'm going to trick off. Now I can go to the strip club and pay that 10K. You know what I mean? Come on now.
Oh
You
my
can go
God.
you walk in like, you don't have to do that now. That we're not saying yet. It's not yet. We'll let you know before the
No,
show's over when you can spend that 10K. It's not
definitely
yet.
not
So
there.
when you're making, let's go in the quad where you move out, you now have 4 tenants in separate units one's paying for the mortgage and everything after that is butter. That's extra money. What do you need to do to maintain that first structure before you can leverage in now the place you move into to pull that money?
Okay, so you got to be smart with it.
Mm-hmm.
Put aside money for repairs because you're gonna have repairs.
Copy.
You're not gonna have a structure running with nothing going wrong with it when you have other people in there that are not you.
Okay.
People don't take care of your place like you would.
Got it.
You gotta understand that. No matter how good they are, stuff breaks. You know what I'm
Got it.
saying? Stuff like plumbing, for instance, is a very common something that goes with
Okay.
hair clog and all that other stuff. So put aside
Right.
money for repairs, right? And if you have a quadruplex, I would do one renter's money every
Okay.
month.
That's a
So
good
you're
that's my next question. Go ahead, please. Yep.
correct because that way you have a nice little buffer.
Got it.
One of the most expensive repairs you can potentially do in a house is the roof. Before you do any of this, purchasing property, whatever it is, you have to make sure the roof is good. If it's not good, you want to negotiate for them to basically fix it before you get in there.
Okay.
Or give you the money to fix it before you get in there, or take some money off of the asking price.
Got it.
So this is all game that you need to kind of run to them to get them to do what you want.
Right.
There's something called a seller's concession that you
Mhm.
might want to ask for as well. It gives you about a 3% of whatever the cost of the property is, pretty much, to help with whatever issues you might find. There's always an issue with whatever you're
Right.
buying. You know what I'm saying? So that's important. These days, because of the high, people, the high demand for homes or whatever it is,
Right.
some people like to waive that. You know what I'm saying? Which is also a method you can do. But personally, that's how I operate. I like a
Got it.
concession. I like to figure out what's wrong with it. I don't like to walk into things blind. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because you can buy a $50,000 house and it needs $40,000 in repairs. That's a
Right.
waste of money to me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's how I would do it. FHA is going to be pretty much your best bet for a new home if
Right.
you are like a first time home buyer.
Mhm.
And they have grants and different things in different counties that can help you pay for repairs and windows and roof and all that stuff if you sign up for them beforehand. So you got
Got
to
it.
see what your county or what your state offers
Yeah,
before you get the ball
let
rolling.
me ask you a question on that because I love where we're going with this. So one, in the quad, I know everybody's gonna be like, well, what about this one? What about a 5? What about this? We're just gonna stick with this for basic numbers. Please leave comments down there. I do see Errol, so I can always ask him, and we could have a follow-up video or meeting talking about certain questions that were asked. If anyone has a particular like how to or how this, we can bring that up in the next interview. So you have one of the incomes in the quadplex is paying for the whole place, the mortgage for the whole unit, all 4 units. Another one is for repairs. What about the last 2? What do you do? And again, folks, we're not giving financial advice, but we're talking about from his experience what he's learned as being a person who owns a rental. You can go out there and listen to IG with all of these people telling you what to do, but they ain't doing it. That's the whole thing. They're never saying I did this. They're telling you what you can do, but it ain't what they are doing. So we're talking about what he is doing and what he's learned from his experience. Your experience may differ, but the guidelines should run along the same way if you're doing it right. So we're learning from his experience, his mistakes, and his success all together. So what do you do with the other 2? I just like to give that to people because people always comment some BS, and I'm like, why? We're not giving out
Gotcha.
financial advice, but I put people up here who are living, who have the results, they have the receipts, they're doing it. They're not the IG. Everybody's got 100,000 views on somebody who's telling everybody else what to do, and they ain't got it. You know what I mean? So let me go back to you. Sorry, I get a little passionate at times, man.
Copy. So the other 2 you can take and roll into getting towards the down payment for the next property.
Okay.
So I love real estate because it does 2 things, and you probably heard this a lot. You get somebody else to pay your mortgage, one, and they're not only just paying your mortgage, they're also paying into the equity of your building.
Right.
So Equity is huge, right?
Mm,
You can do a couple of things with the other two along with the equity. As the equity builds up,
right.
you can do what's called a cash out refinance,
Mhm.
right? And put that towards another property.
Mm,
And the other two unit, the income from the other two units, you can take that and also buy another property, right? And you
okay.
can keep and you can just keep rinsing and repeating and doing the exact same thing. Obviously, once you get into a place whereby you have two, right? Your next one is gonna probably be a bit more of a business thing. So you're gonna have to probably get 20% as a
Oh,
down
okay.
payment
Got
going
it.
forward
Right.
that way. You know what I'm saying? So it's not gonna always be that five, unless your state says that, hey, after every certain amount of years, you qualify as a first-time home buyer again. Because some states do have that rule. If
Okay.
you have a wife or a girlfriend or something like that
Mhm.
that you're serious about as well, they can also put some stuff in their name and you can debt load one partner and let the other partner roll and get a couple more units. So
Gotcha.
that's kind of
Okay.
how you do it. That's
Got it.
how, yeah.
So let me ask this one. So with what is the end goal? Where do you see where does Arrow see like, okay, when I get to this, I've achieved what is the beginning of financial freedom, independence, where I no longer need to leverage my job, for this. What does that look like for you where you can say this can safely give me the lifestyle I need, and anything else after this is financial gravy? Now, now I can go. All right, I'll say it this way. Then where do you get to the point of financial independence where the 10K at the club, with the when you can go there and you can say it don't hurt, I'm going here to make it rain. You know what I mean? Because I know people want to know. I want to know. You know what I mean? Because I'd be like, hey, baby, look here, go do what you got to do. I'm going over here with Earl, and we gonna make it rain because he got 10,000 and it's on him. You know what I mean? All I'm doing is
uh,
I'm driving. I'm here. I'm here with him. I'm here just helping. I'm moral support for his 10K spend.
for me, I'm fiercely competitive, man.
Yeah.
I'm all about the numbers. I'm a numbers guy.
Right.
If it makes numbers, if the numbers look good, it makes sense to me.
Right.
So for me, I'd like to diversify. I don't like to depend on one asset class to get me through anything.
Right.
So I've done house stuff. I've done loans. I'm also heavy in the stock market. I'm heavy in like the crypto sector as well. So
Okay.
I don't, you know, recommend you just following what I say. Do what
Right.
works for you. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But I've been getting decent returns in all four of those sectors. And that's
Right.
aside from my regular job. I'm also heavy in the bond market as well. So,
Okay, definitely. I,
you know.
I I mean, I like the fact that what I'm hearing is that there's you have enough liquid to be able to spread it around, whereas you no longer say I have to work. How many doubles do I have to work? How many 16-hour shifts do I have to do to make the same investment? That if I build up a nice rental income, a nice passive income, I now can take that money and put it into other vehicles where I can be fully diversified, where realistically a person who's doing a regular job has that only in the silo of the 401k, but that's being done for you. You know what I mean?
Mhm, mhm. So, with the 401ks, I mean, if you're a hands-off person and you just
Hmm.
want somebody else to manage your stuff and you don't feel like savvy enough to do it, that's
Right.
totally fine. You can definitely do a 401k. But for me, I like if I learn to do something, I like
Yeah.
to kind of experiment and see what other ways I can mix and match and kind of like
Right.
combine different things together. 401ks were great starting out because I was like, oh, this is interesting. That's good for retirement. And now I'm like seeing people retire, and I'm like, I don't, this is not what it's about. I want to live while I actually have the strength to do
Right.
so,
Right.
because having $1 million when you're 80 versus having $1 million when you're 30 something is two different ball
Right.
games,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And you can't get to enjoy it in your older age. You know what I'm saying? You have arthritis, you have all types of stuff popping up.
Yeah.
It just it's not fun. And money can
Right.
buy a lot of things, but it can't buy health. It can
Yeah.
sustain you
Oh,
for for a period of time. It can keep you at a levels, but I mean, let's face it, you gotta do that stuff. You gotta enjoy your life while you can actually still function, you know.
right. Right. Definitely. But the strip clubs will be open still when you're 80. So, don't worry, folks. That's still definitely. So I want to close it out. What are your parting messages as far as, people in the corporate world that may not have heard what we're talking about today? Today may be the first time that they've even opened their eyes or being awoke to the fact that, hey, um, if people didn't listen to anything and they just caught it in now, what would be your kind of parting wisdom? As far as in, I'm working a 9 to 5, but I have no idea that the end looks much different than the entry, you know.
Um, if you're working a 9 to 5, like I said, get something, whatever you're gonna do, no
Mhm.
matter what it is. If you're gonna stick to your 9 to 5, if you're gonna go into an investment, if you're gonna go into whatever it is you're doing, just make sure you're gonna be doing it because you love it and
Right.
because it's something that you actually appreciate and you get some type of fulfillment out of doing it. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Because
Definitely.
if you're not gonna do something with that type of a heart or passion about it, I mean, what exactly you're doing? You're kind of just wasting your life, pretty much. You
Right.
know, you're basically um surviving just for the sake of it. You're not actually
Right.
living.
Yeah,
You know.
definitely. Definitely. I think just for me, and folks, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna let you go, Errol. Thank you so much for tending. I really, everybody, make sure that we give Errol a round of applause for being on the show and what he's talking about, because I love the gems he's talking, and I hope we can have you back on again, schedule permitting. And he's a great nurse. I love that the first day when I met you, it was like, coming and talking to you and us having this conversation, and it's like, hold on, we're in the same field, we have similar mindsets, we have similar things in common, and to be able to get you on the show to talk about things that um add value to what our listeners need to know. For me, being just 10 years older than you, it's having a family. Even I was passionate about nursing. I felt like it was a duty, it was an honor to serve and help people. And I'm changing the world. 20 years later, I understand that the bureaucracy in business is built around every job. And what it did not do is allow me to be able to create a show, a broadcast where I could have a person like Arrow on. That would be just stuck at the job that we met. That information be locked there. I can't spread that message out. As of today, 61,000 subscribers, people can see that message on this platform. That's what breaking out of the corporate pasture, I'm going to call it, to build your own nation can allow you and can afford. So I want to thank you for coming on, and I want to have you back on so we can evolve the conversation, get more into the rentals. But really, I wanted to capture today how you have the mindset to move forward, and maybe we can get you back and talk about 32-year-old man with rentals. That sounds like you can provide a very comfortable life for a person. People can feel very, you look like, people can sit back and kick back a lot, especially in today's environment, with the OnlyFans and everything else going on. There's a whole lot of people can eat very well being right next to you and what you got going on. And if we can talk about that, we will. I'll let you lead there. But the hardships of dating with upfront success. Mine came a little bit later. I got mine right after I got married and had the family. And for me, being able to take 6 months off when my son is born and be home and not and I didn't get paid from nursing, and I still am able to pay my employees, have a business, make 10K a month, and my wife didn't work. I can never say that that's mediocre for me. And you're not saying about me, but that's my level of wealth, being able to be home in my family, because every fingerprint, a paint, everything that might break, every little, clothing that I got to fold that's no bigger than a napkin, it's going to disappear sooner than ever. And then I'll have a son sitting where I'm at that's a man now. And those memories I'll only be able to access up here. I can't get back that time. And the jobs always, like you said, they're all they're doing is they replace me. They'll replace me when I'm gone. Kaiser will be gone. Kaiser will be here, and every other hospital and job will be here afterwards with another employee where you were, maybe look just like you. But I want to thank you again for having us on, and let people know any of your social media handles where they could follow you or say, hey, I saw you there. If you have any on IG or anything like that, where people can follow you at.
I don't really do the social media with people I don't know like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll keep
Okay,
that
not a
under wraps
problem.
for now.
Well,
Yeah,
maybe in the future you have some consulting things like that. We will. Don't worry, folks. We'll get them. We'll get them making some money online, social media, someplace. We'll get it going. All right. But Errol, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it, man. Take care.
no problem, man. Take care. Bye
All
bye.
right. Bye bye. So, folks, closing stuff. I love that. I love that. Let me get him out of here. I just want to get him out of here. I love that I'm able to always bring people of value to the show. Building a business is scary. I'll tell everybody that. And I meet tons of people who have great ideas, but they don't have a process or a plan. They don't have a way to walk that all out. If you can start with an idea, create a plan, create a process, I definitely think you'll be more successful in whatever you try to do. Don't forget, folks, everyhomelife.com is where you can go and buy products for your home needs. There are sponsors. I purchase from them. When you see what I'm going to do with the studio, once I have it all going, remember, I got it from everyhomelife.com. I've liked that Errol has touched on a lot of things that to do with mindset, discipline. One of the biggest dangers every parent needs to be aware of is the moment your kid graduates college and gets a job, they're going to have a transition, an income velocity that they're not going to understand how to control. It is your job, your duty. If you are an uncle, anyone, you need to get in there and talk to them and show them how to invest that money, put that in the right places, and allow them to be able to live off that income, and have some fun with it and enjoy their lives. But what you got to do is teach them how to manage and budget. That's the key. And no 22-year-old, if you're a parent, you're just going to think they know how to do it. Sometimes you might have to say, hey, can you trust me enough for me to allocate things and go through and create a financial plan? So when you get paid, I'm going to put the money here. No one's going to touch it. I'm going to build for you and just keep it here, even if it's in a dedicated savings account that they can't touch. But every time they get a paycheck, the money goes there. That's if they don't know what to do with it. In Errol's case, he already had a property before he even got that degree and had to put the tassel over. So he's in a different class all by himself. And I wouldn't be surprised that it took him 10 years to get to the point where now he's more diversified than even myself in some aspects. I like to think I'm diversified there. I do have some things like that, but property ownership, land ownership has been my bread and butter. I didn't take that same path. I didn't have the same guidance. And that's no fault of anyone else. But again, sometimes, like I said, our parents only know what they know. They don't know. You can't just put that on your parents and say, y'all supposed to have taught me this, this, and that. Sometimes your parents only knew so much and they barely made it to be successful. And not every parent is a great teacher. That's not a given. Ancestry Lands, folks, we still sell properties. Yes, we do. And we are having a great properties for people to buy. A lot of times now there's a big interest in people growing their own food. A lot of our properties allow you to do agricultural, commercial purposes where you can live and buy and build and sell commercial products and agricultural products on those properties. Ancestrylands.com is where you do that, folks. Have a great Monday. I hope your weekend was well. I've got other things coming up that I'm going to talk about. Hiring your kids. I hired my daughter. She's doing a great job. And I'll talk a little bit about that maybe in tomorrow's post. And we've got other guests coming up, people of different areas within the world, different philosophies that can add value and help bring you gems. Anyway, folks, I am your host, Phil Davis, live with Uncle Phil, Ancestry Lands, ancestrylands.com. Thank you to our sponsors, everyhomelife.com. Thank you so much for helping to be a part of this channel's growth. Folks, I hope you have been enlightened, educated, and entertained. Remember, forget the plantation, build your own nation, folks. Ancestry Lands, where you heard it. Take care.
Are you confused with today's real estate market? With high interest rates and overpriced housing, it can be hard to find something to own at the right price. Available on Amazon, Getting Dollars from Dirt by author Philip H. Davis is a game-changing book that invites you to embark on a thrilling exploration of this often overlooked asset class. This book is your roadmap to unlocking the secrets of vacant land investment. Inside these pages, you will uncover the transformative power of vacant land as a wealth-building tool. Discover how to spot promising properties, assess their true value, and capitalize on market trends. From understanding zoning and permits to leveraging financing strategies, you will gain the knowledge and confidence to make savvy investment decisions. With each page you turn, you will gain a deeper understanding of the profound impact your investments can have on the world around you. Getting Dollars from Dirt is not just a guidebook, it's a call to action. Whether you're a seasoned investor or a curious novice, this book will empower you to tap into the immense potential of vacant land and embark on a journey toward financial freedom and a brighter future.